Presentation to offer.
The event, which seeks to ensure that the continent builds democratic governments, saw the former Vice President, His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, give the keynote address, and in his opening remarks pointed out that democracy is the glue that holds good governance.
Let me therefore at the outset state that democracy is the glue to good governance. Without democratic mandate, regimes flounder as they force themselves on an unwilling populace. The rule of the gun can never be a panacea to a restless people reeling under the stifling heat of autocracy. Needless to say, evidence abounds all over the world of regimes that have thrown democracy out of the window in favor of repression and dictatorship, but which have eventually been decimated by popular revolt.
The former Vice President went on to point out that there have been mixed fortunes for the continent on the democratic front, with the wins and losses coming in equal measure.
Whereas certain African nations have enjoyed relative calm since independence, others have reeled under the painful yoke of coups and revolutions. I can tell you that at some stage the African Union had to actually pass a resolution outlawing military coup d'etats in Africa as undemocratic and therefore unacceptable.
In a moment of reflection, he looked back at the 2017 general election and the political action thereafter and how they impacted on the socio-economic environment.
We went, of course, to the Supreme Court following the announcement and were able to contest the results. The court granted our wish, annulled the presidential vote, which was a first, I think, for Africa, to have an annulment of a presidential outcome touching on a sitting head of state. And this was a first, I can assure you. And in fact, we give credit to President Uhuru Kenyatta because much as it really jolted his conscience, he was able to accept the outcome of that Supreme Court decision. However, the court, after granting our plea, ordered a rerun within 60 days. However, we as NASA boycotted the repeat poll because we felt the conditions were still not conducive to be able to deliver a free and fair election. Jubilee decided to go it alone, and then Kenya was literally on tenterhooks. There are threats even of secession. And then came the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Raila Odinga. This handshake, which was on March the 9th, diffused political tension in this country and calmed down the country, giving way to a return to a measure of normalcy and therefore conducive socio-economic environment. I believe as a result of the handshake, even our shilling strengthened.
He further pointed out his support for the handshake and his commitment to support the president in the fight against corruption, which is an economic cancer in the country.
I wholeheartedly support that handshake. And to give further impetus to that, only yesterday, I'm leader of my own political party, the Wiper Democratic Movement, and I went for a courtesy call to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta with my elected leaders that we now must move to the next level. And we therefore support you, Mr. President, when it comes to the fight against corruption. This is a big issue in this country, and I believe a big issue in Africa. If I'm not wrong, even at the heads of state level, the African Union has decided to make that the number one objective. But here President Kenyatta has literally taken the bull by its horns. And I keep on telling him, if you wink, Mr. President, then you lose a country.
Tom Wayne, an independent research consultant from the United States of America, who was also a speaker at the forum, pointed out that good governance must transcend the usual brand of politics for a prosperous Kenya.
Good governance is done by the right people and people who have been tested by organizing well, by people who have been forced to build a coalition and to deliver for those people in an election, they will continue to do so because they will have this diverse group of people who are pressuring them to keep delivering, to keep being honest, to keep showing what they can do for the people of Kenya. And that is something that cannot be done just through politics as usual.
Politics and business, there cannot be one without the other. As the Third Africa Political Summit gets underway, we can only hope that a democratic Africa will be realized in our lifetime, and with it, the full economic potential of the continent will be realized. For Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.